Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is time for another true crime video yet again, and today we will be talking about the hijacking of Pan Am Flight 73 and the heroism of Neerja Bhanot. Neerja Bhanot was born on September 7th, 1963 in Punjab, India, but later moved to Mumbai during her childhood years. There she grew up with her father Harish, her mother Rama, and her brothers Akhil and Anish. As the only daughter, Neerja was the baby of the family. Her parents adored her, and her brothers were very much protective of her. Now, during her teenage years, Neerja was actually discovered and was asked to model for a Mumbai based magazine, which helped her launch her modeling career. But despite finding success in the industry, Neerja valued her education and prioritized this more than anything else, and she eventually graduated from St. Xavier's College. Now, she did a number of print ads and television commercials up until 1985 when she got married at the age of 22. Neerja was set up with a guy named Naresh Mishra, and after the arranged marriage, the pair moved to the UAE. However, this marriage did not last because just a few months in, Neerja found herself going back to her parents in Mumbai after being abused, mistreated, and even starved by her husband. Now, in the same year, 1985, Pan Am Airlines announced that they were hiring for an all Indian cabin crew. Neerja applied for this job and actually got it. Out of the 10,000 applicants, only 80 were accepted, and Neerja was one of those. She then spent 2 months training in Miami. Upon returning to Mumbai, she told her family about everything that she learned during those 2 months. And at one point, she even told her mother Rama about what the protocols were should there be a hijacking. Now, worried for her daughter's safety, Rama tells Neerja to run if ever she experiences something like this. Neerja, however, tells her mother that she would rather die than run and hide. She was a brave young woman and had always liked lending a helping hand to those in need. So Rama wasn't really surprised with how her daughter responded. Now, after splitting up with her abusive husband, Neerja Bhanot was thriving in life. She loved her job with Pan Am Airlines and was still doing her modeling gigs on the side. She was definitely living her life to the fullest. And in less than a year of working with the airlines, Neerja got promoted and became a purser, which only showed how good she was at this job. But sadly, this wouldn't last very long either. On September 5th, 1986, Neerja got ready for work as usual. She was the head purser of Pan Am Flight 73 heading to New York from Mumbai, India. However, this was a long flight and there were two scheduled stopovers, one in Karachi, Pakistan, and the second in Frankfurt, Germany. Now, the plane arrived in Karachi at around 5 a.m., where 109 passengers got off. More passengers who were headed either to Frankfurt or New York got on and heading to Germany next. There were 365 passengers, 13 flight attendants, and 3 flight crew consisting of the pilot, the co-pilot, and the engineer. Now everyone was already preparing to fly off to Frankfurt, but as the plane was still parked on the runway, two men who were dressed as Karachi airport security approaches them and enters the plane, followed by two armed men wearing a shalwar kameez. Now, this caught everyone by shock. These four men got on the plane, ordered for the doors to be closed, and just started shouting at everyone, announcing that this was a hijack. They were all armed with large guns, and one of them was even wearing an explosive belt around his waist. And as everyone was starting to panic, Neerja calmly makes her way to the front and calls the pilot, giving him the hijacking code. The pilot, co-pilot, and the engineer were all able to escape, and once the hijackers went inside the cockpit, they realized that they wouldn't be able to go through with their plans as no one was there to fly the plane. These four men were Wadud Muhammad Hafiz al-Turki, Jamal Saeed Abdul Rahim, Muhammad Abdullah Khalil Hussein, and Muhammad Ahmed al-Munawar. And they were from the Abu Nidal organization, which was a Palestinian terrorist group backed by Libya. Now, this group or organization no longer exists, but their intentions in hijacking Flight 73 was for the pilots to fly them to Cyprus and then Israel so they could free the Palestinian prisoners from there. Now, these four men spent months training for this. However, none of them learned how to fly a plane. And without the pilots, they really couldn't do anything. They then started to negotiate with Pakistani authorities, opening doors and shouting back and forth. They then selected a random person from the passengers and set their eyes on 29-year-old Rajesh Kumar, who had recently just obtained his US citizenship. They told Rajesh to get down on his knees near the door, and this is when one of the four men shouted that if they are not provided with a pilot within the next 15 minutes, they were going to shoot Rajesh dead. However, before the allotted 15 minutes were even up, one of the four men lost his patience and shot Rajesh before kicking him out of the plane. Rajesh Kumar died on his way to the hospital. All the passengers were then asked to gather and huddle in the middle of the plane and to put down their window shades so nobody could see in and out of the plane. Now, these four men then told Neerja to collect all of the passports and surrender it to them. Thinking quickly, Neerja gathered her crew and told them to take all of the passports but hide the ones belonging to American citizens. Quickly realizing that it seemed like these men were targeting US citizens specifically and wanted to use them as pawns for their negotiation. Now, once the hijackers realized that there were no American passports, they decided to target UK citizens next. They called out a passenger named Michael John Dexton and asked him to do the same thing, to get down on his knees near the door. And this is when the Pakistani authorities informed the hijackers that there was actually a Pan Am crew member flying as a passenger who knew how to operate the radio on the cockpit, and this way they wouldn't have to shout back and forth. So the men brought 28-year-old Pan Am mechanic Merji Karas with them to the cockpit along with two female flight attendants, Sunshine and Shireen, whom they used as human shields. Now, during this whole ordeal, Neerja and her crew continuously served snacks and drinks to their terrified passengers. And during one of these rounds, Neerja handed one of the passengers a magazine, saying, "Use it when you feel it's the right time." And upon opening this magazine, the passenger realized that Neerja had actually torn out a page from her own manual that had directions on how to open the plane's 3R door, which was located near this passenger. Now, nighttime fell and it was beginning to get dark both inside and outside of the aircraft. At 9 p.m., 16 hours into the hijacking, the lights inside the plane went out and were replaced with emergency lights that weren't really that bright and powerful. Now, of course, this resulted to the passengers to panic and for the hijackers to get even more frustrated than they already were. One of the men was heard saying his prayers before aiming his gun at the other man's explosive belt. However, as the plane was very dimly lit, his aim was completely off, and this only caused a small explosion that really didn't do much damage. Now extremely angry, the men started to fire randomly and threw hand grenades at the passengers. Now luckily, since it was very dark, they really couldn't see properly and they were not able to pull the pins of these grenades. The entirety of the plane was now in a complete state of chaos. Neerja then signals the passenger and one of her crew members to open the doors. However, out of the 3 doors that were opened, only the 3R doors emergency slide was able to deploy. So people had no choice but to jump off of the plane. And a lot of them got injured by doing so because this was a 20-foot jump. But that was definitely better than getting stuck inside with those men. Neerja assisted passengers and crew off of the plane, telling them to just jump. And she actually waited for everyone to escape safely when she could have just escaped herself first. Now, to her, it was her job to make sure that all of her passengers were safe. And as she was about to jump off herself, she then spots 3 unaccompanied children who were still inside. She makes her way to them and successfully helped them out of the plane. But sadly, before Neerja herself could make a run for it, one of the hijackers sees what she was doing. One of them pulled her by her hair and expressed his anger, telling her that they knew that all of this was her doing. They then shot Neerja in point-blank range. Once all of the passengers were out of the plane, Pakistani authorities then stormed into the aircraft and apprehended all 4 men, as well as another one who was working with them from the outside. The hijacking lasted for a total of 17 hours. 22 were killed and another 120 were left injured. There were 358 survivors in total, but sadly, Neerja was not one of them. Neerja Bhanot was brought to the hospital where she was declared dead on arrival. She passed away just 2 days before her 23rd birthday. Her body was then flown back to her family in Mumbai, and after her death, Neerja received multiple awards from several countries and organizations for her bravery and dedication. Her family also created the Neerja Bhanot Panam Trust to honor her memory. On July 8, 1988, the 4 men and 1 other member of the Abu Nidal organization were convicted in Pakistan. They were given the death sentence, however, this was later changed to life in prison. In 2008, 20 years after they were charged, 4 out of the 5 men escaped and are still at large to this day. One of them is rumored to be dead, but the one who remains in custody is now serving 160 years in the United States under the watch of the FBI. These are the age progression photos of the 4 who escaped, and these were released back in 2018. In 2016, a biopic titled Neerja was released. It starred the beautiful Sonam Kapoor and was directed by the talented and multi-awarded Ram Madhvani. The production was approved by Neerja's mother, Rama. She was actually there when they shot some of the scenes, and when she met Sonam Kapoor, who played Neerja, she said that she really reminded her of her daughter. But sadly, Rama Bhanot passed away in December 2015 before the film was even finished. But I highly suggest that you guys watch this movie. It's available online, and I'm going to try my best to give you guys a link. But that was actually how I found out about this story. Because when I watch movies or series, I like reading about it afterwards, like where it was shot, who the actors are, and stuff like that. So that's how I found out that this was actually based on a true story. And just please go ahead and watch it. Again, I'm going to try my best to link it down below. But yeah, that's actually all that I have for you guys for today's video. As usual, I would really love to hear your thoughts on this case, and should there be any other case that you would like for me to cover on this channel, please let me know by leaving a comment. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys on my next video.